be seated. We'll begin on page 2 of the stapled liturgy book. Gata of atonement, all evil karma ever committed by me, sins of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all evil karma ever committed by me, sins of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all evil karma ever committed by me, sins of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. Nikaya 3 Refuges. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami. The 5 remembrances. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. Page 3. Mahayana Refuge. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. Invocation of the lineage. I give thanks for the guidance of my teachers, for the lineage of teachers before them. I give thanks and offerings for their devoted practice of generosity, moral discipline, patience, joyful effort, concentration, wisdom, skillful means, unshakable vow, spiritual powers, and awakened awareness for my benefit. May their years of life be lengthened, and may their vows be completely realized. 7 practices of the Bodhisattva. I bow down in body, speech, and mind. I offer the best I have to give, both real and imagined, to fill the space between us. I regret and purify all transgressions. I rejoice in all virtues. I request you to remain until total enlightenment. I request wise and compassionate guidance. I dedicate my merit for the sake of all beings. Generating love and compassion. May all sentient beings be free from clinging and hatred. Being close to some and distant from others, how wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will free them from clinging and hatred. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will bring them happiness and the causes of happiness. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings have the joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from clinging, hatred, jealousy, miserliness, doubt, pride, wrong view, ignorance, and dualistic thoughts. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will bring them to this state. Bless me to accomplish this. We will now, in the spiral-bound book, turn to page 16, the Loving Kindness Sutra. This is what should be done. By one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace, let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm, wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or tall, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies and downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, free from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Please stand for the Heart Sutra. You can find it in the stapled book. Great Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, practicing deep Prajna Paramita, clearly saw that all five skandhas are empty, transforming all suffering and distress. Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness. Emptiness, no other than form. Form is exactly emptiness. Emptiness, exactly form. consciousness are also like this. Shariputra, all things are essentially empty, not born, not destroyed, not stained, not pure, without loss, without gain. Therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no sensation, perception, mental reaction, consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no color, sound, smell, taste, touch, object of thought, no seeing, and so on, to no thinking, no ignorance, and also no ending of ignorance, and so on, to no old age and death, and also no ending of old age and death, no suffering, cause of suffering, cessation, path, no wisdom, and no attainment, since there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva lives by prajna paramita, with no hindrance in the mind, no hindrance, and therefore no fear, far beyond elusive thinking. Right here is nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future live by prajna paramita, attaining anuttara samyak sambodhi. Therefore know that prajna paramita is the great sacred mantra, the great vivid mantra, the unsurpassed mantra, the supreme mantra, which completely removes all suffering. This is truth, not mere formality. Therefore set forth the prajna paramita mantra, set forth this mantra and proclaim gate, gate, para, gate, parasam, gate, bodhisvaha, gate, gate, para, gate, parasam, gate, bodhisvaha, gate, gate, para, gate, parasam, gate, bodhisvaha. Infinite realms of light and dark convey the Buddha mind. All that is and we ourselves come forth in perfect harmony. We offer this sincere and devoted practice for the many beings of the 6 worlds, and dedicate it in grateful thanks to the strength and sound practice of the Great Heartland Sangha and its teachers. May our virtuous actions be clear from all interferences, and may our vows be fully realized. We especially dedicate these merits to Sarah Tenka Kier at the time of her death, Soke, Debbie, all those facing loss of freedom and self-determination, everyone suffering from war, all refugees seeking safety far from home, and our wounded planet Earth, and all who live here. May we live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma, and may we realize the Buddha way together. Bodhisattva. Please be seated, Ms. Zazen. Please tuck your liturgy books under your cushions during Zazen and pull them out again later when needed. the sound of the clappers, first and third rows turn to the right, second and fourth rows turn to the left. We'll now recite the Sangha Covenant. You can find it on page 8 of the stapled liturgy book. We, the Daishin Kokoji Sangha, with respect for the worth and dignity of each person, with wonder at the wisdom and compassion we seek to cultivate by practice, and with deep gratitude for the teachers of this lineage and our connection to one another, covenant to support each other by upholding the precepts of doing no harm, practicing good, and actualizing good for others. Please be seated for the talk. Sit comfortably and sit angled so you can make eye contact with the teachers. We'll begin with the Gata on opening the sutra, which is also on page 8. Gata on opening the sutra. The Dharma incomparably profound and infinitely subtle is rarely encountered even in millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, receive and maintain it. May we completely realize the Tathagata's true meaning.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you, as always, for choosing to be here and to spend a little time with Sangha and with the Dharma. I don't know, maybe you haven't noticed, but there's a whole lot of shit happening right now. Oh, man. Oh, Lord. This is, I mean, how much occasion have we had to utter that sentiment, though, right? After a while, there's only so much catastrophe one can reasonably interact with, right? And so what does the Buddha, if anything, have to say? What is there to be found in the sutras in the koans, in practice, about the current day's calamities. You know, if you think back to, for example, the 30s in 20th century, we know what happened. We really know, we know what happened. We know how it came to be. You know, there was a story about internationalism back in that time. There was a story about class warfare, the proletariat, the inevitability of how society would march towards utopia. And interestingly, if you look at Italy, just to pick one, this was not random. This was very intelligent people who had a pretty good sense of the zeitgeist of the culture of the moment. And they thought strategically, how can we manipulate people? Like, you know, dudes around a table with beards and money and time plotting, just like the stories, you know, like the worst of everything, right? And you know, one of the insights that was new to that time was that there was this insight that, you know, the prior century was about liberal versus conservative, and what that meant was individualism versus aristocracy. That's what it looked like before. And they were saying, you know, that doesn't reach it. What's going to happen now is the herd, the crowd. And psychology was nascent and emerging, and there was a view that said, you know, when you get Homo sapiens together in a big enough crowd, they start to go to the lowest common denominator, give up their autonomy, and everybody syncs up if you have a compelling story. And that story doesn't have to be true. True's got nothing to do with it. What matters is, does it stimulate them? That's the currency, not truth, not data and facts, not even people's best interests. What actually gets the juices going? That's the only currency. And one of the things that was noticed was that it has to be something that someone of not a lot of education can completely buy. There was a lot of intellectual life in early 20th century. I mean, there were thinkers, there were people who actually were pushing humanity's understanding forward in very interesting and compelling ways, but it was understood by the fascists that that's too damn complicated. I need something that works. So the international, you know, impulse that was at the time, it was deemed that the loyalty group was too large. People can't be loyal to all of humanity. We need something much smaller that we can control. And so they crafted, they literally sat down and said, what can we do to flip these switches and control this? The 19th century was the century of the individualism versus the aristocracy, you know, the French Napoleon and all that. But that's done. Now it's the crowd. How do we harness the crowd? What can we do? And you know what they decided? They decided, we can do this, we can wind this around being Italian. They're like, what? But no, really, we can. If we see, that's small enough of a group that we can identify with that, see? I mean, literally, the fascists in that era were saying, you know, close your eyes, feel deep into the marrow of your bones, and you will feel Italy. The glory that was Rome, right? It's like, what the hell are they talking about? The marrow of my bones, I feel Italy, what? But actually, you see, it's not just the nationalism. There's also this religious thing. There's this awe. There's this ache to belong to something grander and deeper. And when you match that kind of savvy, psychological savvy, with actually crowds getting together, and you have to have a charismatic somebody, it doesn't really matter who, but somebody can get up there and like preach it, And then all of the people with critical thinking start to they go back a little back on their heels. Where's the subtle, nuanced conversation that accounts for all? Well, we're not interested in that. So the big crowd comes together, and then the myth has to be something that's easily digested. If it's complicated, it will not work. If it's true, it's irrelevant. Nationalism. And of course, it's not enough to simply say, oh, okay, we're hyper-Italian, Mussolini famously said, I am desperately Italian. But to a people who imagine yourself living in the ruins of a once ancient empire, and your entire life you've been in the shadow of that, right? Like the aqueducts no one can remember how to make and that stuff, the crumbling ruins, what does that do to somebody? How can you turn it around? I know what we can do. Anyway, it's not enough, though, simply to have a story of something that feels good that you can make solid. You have to have disgust. Disgust is a necessary ingredient to control, okay? Disgust. What can we be disgusted about in common, right? And they find something. They find someone. They find a group. They find doesn't matter. But those really simple ingredients, and we saw what happened. Fascism arose, the Germans and the Italians. You'd think we'd learn. Unfortunately, we have really short memories, right? If it didn't exist by the time you were, say, I don't know, depending on you, 15 to 25, somewhere when you start noticing a larger world, anywhere in there, maybe earlier, maybe later, it doesn't exist for you. This is why understanding history is so, so important. You take college and make it all about a job that makes money instead of understanding humanity. This is to our deficit. It's impossible to be fooled by such rhetoric if you've seen a wider world, if you understand anything about history. And at the core of it is this cultivation of a solid, fixed identity, right? Feel your, in this case, Italianness, whatever that is, and make a thing out of, savor that. Yes, the glory that was Rome, we're Italians, and my grandma and my dad, and oh yeah, and you have to kind of work on it, but you cultivate this thing, yeah? And at the same time, you cultivate and savor some enemy. And them. Right. It's the communists, it's the Jews, it's the whatever. It really doesn't matter psychologically. You just insert whatever's convenient. What's tactically at your advantage to use. Meanwhile, the Buddha. Meanwhile, right? You guys watch that Stephen Colbert? He's so great, Meanwhile. Anyway, some 2,600 years ago, the Buddha's awakening is a thing, And the Majjhima Nikaya Pali Sutta, it goes into great depth about the middle length discourses, and it goes into some great depth about the Buddha's awakening and how it occurred and this kind of stuff, the phases of it, you know. And of course, there were varying accounts, right? But one of the things that the Buddha said very clearly is that upon awakening, there was no abode, no sticking place, no clinging to feelings of pleasure that arose in me. And similarly, there was no sticking point, there was no abode, there was no clinging to painful feelings that arose in me. What is this pointing to? Why does that matter? Perhaps we think, as Mussolini did, that the idea is to make all the pleasure here and all the pain there and manage how it's perceived by the uneducated masses and focus it, and you win, you make power. Remember, it was foretold that the Buddha could have been one hell of a military conqueror. That was like option B, right? In his dad's view, that was option A. That's the one he was hoping for. That's why a little bit of awakening can be very dangerous. This is why the moral and ethical teachings have to be just so solid. So it isn't that the feelings of pleasure don't arise in an awakened being. This is not the case. And some of his training thought that was true. Like the way in is to, be ascetic and punish the body. And, this kind of Cartesian split played out in a different culture, right? But no, it's not having a place of clinging. And we always think pleasure, pain, pleasure, pain, pleasure, pain. Okay, but actually, I want to stick up for disgust a little bit, because it's in your cells, it's in your DNA. It is an evolutionary adaptation to the survival of you. When you encounter a food, let's say you smell something, and you get this nauseous, the look, the face, the feel, the body, this disgust, it's trying to protect you. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do we have that as a thing? Well, because maybe illness comes, right? And there's a lot to be disgusted about right now. I don't think it's too strong a word. It's disgusting. Unless you don't think that, but I do. It's disgusting. How can we possibly still be so susceptible to such a simple and stupid trap? Like, how is this even working today? People can read what's going on. It's disgusting. But see, here's the thing. The feeling of disgust that comes up, it's true. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's disgusting because it's disgusting. It's okay. Don't make the feeling that, if I only meditated more, I wouldn't care. You should care. The world needs bodhisattvas who care and engage. No question about this. How does a bodhisattva engage, though? You see, Mussolini got his disciples, I suppose, to engage with savoring an identity and its opposite disgust unit, whatever, and that's who we are. And this is not the way to freedom. Even if you were to, let us say, be very motivated by some current political issue, and you were to throw yourself into it, if you came at it from the same place that Mussolini did, the karma cannot be good, because your intention is not enlightened. Your intention is coming from a sense of identity and pleasure and disgust, and therefore act. And then now this generates karma, 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 karma. Even if it's a objectively, agreeable course that you're on, it's not enough. You have to come at it from compassion. Like, for real, you must. You don't have to, you don't must, but I mean, if you come from compassion, you do the same work, but you're not scarring yourself as you do it. You're not creating negative karmic seeds which will inevitably come back. right? So the feeling of outrage, the feeling of disgust, it's noble. You're not missing anything. But don't savor it. Do not make an identity out of that disgust. It's a trap. And again, if you just, like go back centuries and cultures, there's some other complete different set of characters and issues and whatever it is, and it's the same trap. This is when the Buddha saw into his countless past lives, and then he saw into the other beings. How is it that we get stuck to this suffering? What's the mechanism of this? And it's this essential mistake. I saw in myself that there was no sticking place, there was no abode, and there was no clinging to the feeling of pleasure that arose in me. Now, if you're hearing that and you're an ascetic and you've put your nickel down on like punishing your body and that's the way in, that's radical. But saying pleasure's fine, don't attach. And then act. The Buddha didn't just realize this and then like chill. Depending on what account, the earlier texts used to say he took 4 weeks to chill, and then, no, it was 7 because that's a better number, whatever. It's fine. But eventually the Buddha said, you know what? The world is on fire. And everybody's up in their room playing with their toys. And we got to get them out of the house. Okay, I'm going to do something here. But what's the distinguishing factor? How can you experience the conditions of your society and life and the body you're in and the realities thereof and not get trapped? How do you play freely in a world that's on fire to the benefit of yourself and others? The Loving Kindness Sutra that was selected for us as a reading today says, "Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state." That's the opposite of Mussolini. And others. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. What's the motivation that he's speaking about? Ill will, anger, deception, and despise. Let none deceive another or be disgusted by any being in any state. That's a practice, because there's some pretty disgusting stuff. How do you encounter the disgust, feel the disgust, but not become identified with the disgust? How do you turn it around and awaken? How do you use that as fuel for your Bodhisattva vow of compassion? Because you totally can. Seeing the suffering of the world, Kuan Yin, she cries. She's not in some cloud above looking down, deigning whether or not to intervene like some Greek pantheonic entity. It hurts. She's crying. Those tears are noble. How do we get to this place? In the Avatamsaka Sutra, it says this. There's a eulogy on the Sonaya heaven. It's the title of the fascicle. It says, "All things are birthless and have no extinction either. Those who understand in this way will see the Buddha directly. Because they have no birth, their inherent nature is non-existent. One who analyzes and knows this will arrive at the profound truth. All things are birthless and have no extinction either." in my bones, I feel my Italianness. No. Unacceptable. I mean, I like cannoli. Espresso's great. It's all good. I'm not down on the Italians. That's not what this is. It's not what this is about. It's about the trap of the mind. And it's easy to take something that we probably all find disgusting, like fascism, and say, oh yeah, that's disgusting. Of course, they got it wrong. But I got it right. So fuck them. No, not good enough. This is the problem. Realize the birthlessness of things. The unborn. Master Bankai used to say, just realize the unborn and it's done. That's it. There's nothing else you need to even think about. Just realize the unborn mind. Any student would come up with any question, unborn mind. Kind of a nice gig. But what's interesting, if you imagine yourself, I can totally imagine a person being really distraught over recent events. And you know what? If you rewind 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, the statement applies, but it applies today. And imagine yourself really, really, really wound up in the calamity of the moment, which is real. And you bring it to someone who you respect and you trust, and you really open yourself to what they have to say, and they say, just realize the unborn mind. Like in the middle of the tantrum. You know, there was a time when I was at retreat, and I was a much younger person, and I was sitting there and I was feeling really pissed off and really sorry for myself, and what have I done? I've signed myself up for this stupid retreat, and here I am. It's 4:45 in the morning. Ugh, why? I could be sleeping in my apartment in Boston, and instead, here I am on this cot, The bell rings and I stumble, around, and there's a line for the bathroom. I have to pee, but you gotta wait on God. You get in there, no time to brush my teeth, but okay, go. The pond's ringing, oh shit, and drama, right? And I'm stewing in this, and really buying it. I bought this ticket, and I'm riding it, right? This is awful, this is terrible, this is stupid, And then I'm sitting, and then Roshi comes around to do the morning canton, and I barely even notice it's happening because I'm so connected to my story in my bones, right? And the form there was slightly different. In our way, we actually bow to each other as a conscious behavior. The teacher will hold a stick of incense and we'll acknowledge each other. But in that way of practice, that isn't how it worked. The teacher would simply just walk by, and the student was expected to know to bow as the teacher walked past, and they just keep walking. And it's fine. Anyway, I'm caught up in my stuff. I'm not even feeling, which tells you how out of my body I was at the moment, right? Because Roshi's walking close. You'd think I'd feel it. No. He's walking by, and these are rather impressive sleeves, right? So they're there for a reason, and I found out why. He's walking like this, and I'm just in my head, and his sleeve catches my nose. And I never talked with him about it. I don't know if it was a conscious behavior or what. It wouldn't surprise me if it was or wasn't. If it was skillful upaya, and if he had no idea, it's still skillful upaya. The sleeve itself became my master in that moment, because as soon as the sleeve hit my nose, I went, and I was startled, completely startled out of my stupor, out of my story, right? He didn't smack me or anything. The sleeve caught my nose, that's all. But it hit my nose, and I was this rush of energy came through my body, and my structure aligned, And suddenly, I just sat. You know, almost like in Doctor Strange, when they go, poof, and like, you just kind of get knocked out. Like the story just got, all the drama that I was so invested in unconsciously just got knocked out of me. It's like it's just gone. And what's left is a Buddha. And that's how it is. See? That's exactly how it is. What was the difference? It was still ridiculously early in the morning, and I was still underslept, and I still had plenty of reasons to bemoan that I wasn't at the cafe in Boston that was my favorite, whatever. None of it was, what is it, as a hair floating in empty space compared to the reality of this moment, any moment. Where did that drama of mine come from, and where did it go? Did it ever actually arise? And who's perceiving it? In here lies the key. To really manifest the Bodhisattva of the Lotus Sutra, Bodhisattva non-despising, is a particularly timely Bodhisattva for our times, I think. Lotus Sutra, as many know, is an important sutra in the Mahayana tradition. And there's a Bodhisattva there, and I'll conclude with a little bit of their story. If you care to, you can go online and look at Bodhisattva Never Despise from the Lotus Sutra and read a little more. I'm just going to give you a snippet. After this Buddha's extinction, when the law drew near to its end, meaning when the Dharma was beginning to fade, there existed a Bodhisattva whose name was Never Despise. My practice is never despising. Wow, what a practice. Whew. At that time, the four groups, or the different classes of people, the different elements of society, were completely devoted to material things. Beautiful sounds and beautiful feelings of the body and beautiful smells and beautiful tastes and beautiful thoughts, all the different things, right? Completely devoted to them. And Bodhisattva Never Despise approached them in their delusion and said, I will not despise you. You actually are followers of the Great Way, and you will all become complete Buddhas. When they heard this, it says they condemned and reviled him. Get away from me. I'm enjoying my cannoli. Leave me alone. Screw you and your Buddha, whatever. I'm having fun, you know. Oh, no, I know. But really, you're a Buddha, and you will become so, and it's clear as day. Right in the midst of the muck. It'd be like walking up to Mussolini and his ridiculous team around that table back in the 30s and say, boom, you're all going to be Buddhas. You're all on the path. Even though you're completely fucking up right now, I can see. I will not despise you because your nature is pure. And Mussolini goes, and he runs. And as the black shirts are chasing him, he's like, you're all Buddhas. It's something like this. They condemned and they reviled him, but Bodhisattva never despised, bore it all patiently, with a bit of humor and a bit of unshakability in the face of completely disgusting things. So, how about you? Has anybody here found a reason to find disgust lately? I mean, honor that. It's noble, but don't make an abode for it. Turn it to compassion. See that the people who we view are perpetrating such stupidity are themselves also Buddha. No different. Maybe doing some dumb shit, but they're still Buddha. And don't despise them, and then go vote. And do your advocacy and show up to the world that desperately needs you to, but do it from love and do it from compassion, not as a platitude, but really. If you burn the fuel of hatred and pissed offness, you might get somewhere, but it pollutes everything and everyone, and it's not good enough. You can actually do better, and it's more fun. It just is. You know, Kuan Yin hears the cries of the world, and she sheds a tear, and she's also having a good time. That's also true. That 10th ox herding picture is a beautiful, grubby, bearded dude with a wine sack in the dirt of the village with bare feet, no pomp, no circumstance, no grand staff, no kesa, just a dude. And there he is, enlightening everyone that he sees. So I encourage you, take up the practice of non-disgust. Become the Buddha of non-disgust, particularly when it's disgusting, right? Become the Bodhisattva of non-despising. Bow. This is the Buddha arising before you, who needs a little guidance. And then let's do the work, shall we? Don't be part of that crowd. Don't buy the myth. It ain't true. And truth matters.
We'll conclude with the Bodhisattva vows on page 8. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Thank you for joining us for Sunday service today. That concludes our service. We have a few announcements. First of all, I think today is our monthly potluck. And so some folks have brought food, and I hope everyone will stay for a little bit and enjoy each other's company right after service today. We have a few very special events coming up over the next couple months, and I want to draw your attention especially to two things. We have a teachings retreat coming up July 19th through 23. It is Tuesday through Saturday. It meets 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's a commuter thing. It is a deep dive into the daily liturgy that we said today and say every day. It's an opportunity to take that roadmap and kind of get the tour guide version to learn more about what we're saying and why, and deepen our practice in that way. If you've been to the teachings retreat before, you're welcome to come again. It will unfold differently this time. If you've never been, you're just getting started with your practice, this is a great opportunity to deepen it. We just opened up registration last night. It can be drop-in, but we'd really love it if you RSVP, especially if you would like to eat lunch with us. It helps us make enough food. Or if you'd like to sleep over. That's for temple members. If you're not a member and you're interested in that kind of thing, it might be time to consider membership. So that's one thing I wanted to call your attention to. And then the other thing is we don't have a session, a meditation retreat in July, but we do have one coming up in August. And if that's something that you're interested in trying for the first time, please get in touch with me about what that might look like for you. Are there any other announcements?
Good morning, I'm Chujin. Next Saturday at 7 o'clock at my house, I'm sponsoring the first annual Chillin' with Chujin. We'll have potluck and a lot of games, and we'll end the evening with watching the Belmont Country Club shoot off their fireworks. So I hope you can come join me. On the Buddhist Temple of Toledo Facebook page, there's a registration section. So thank you guys.
All right. Do you have an announcement, Suju? It's time.
The brain's a little fried already. Okay, so I scheduled the potluck to officially start about 1 o'clock to give us a little bit of time to warm up things and set things up if you wanted to do that. If you brought something, we have been trying to put things out and set things up, but please go out there and make sure that it's set up in a way that you approve of, and we did what we were supposed to do and all of that. So thank you. Let's have some fun.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Please restore the Zendo.